Dr. Ben Carson is known as a trailblazing brain surgeon, an outspoken commentator on national issues, and a GOP presidential hopeful. But his wife of more than 40 years knows him as so much more: a loving husband and father, a devout Christian, and a fierce patriot. Now, Candy Carson introduces us to the private side of a very public figure as she shares the inspiring story of their marriage and family in her new book, A Doctor in the House: My Life with Ben Carson.
Well, Candy joins us now, and welcome to the 700 Club. It's an honor to have you.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me here. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. You wrote a book. What in the book do you want us to know about Ben Carson?
Well, that's why I wrote the book. It's just a broader perspective. A lot of people. Well, let me put it this way: the media has their own way of showing things. You know?
Oh, I'm very familiar with that.
Here you have a wonderful perspective because it's coming from the way it should. You know what I mean? I mean, if God put us here for a reason, you know, then that should be kind of the rose-colored glass that we should be looking through. I mean, you know, having that perspective. And this is from my perspective, as well as his medical family, because he spent more time at the hospital than he did with us, and I got clearance from the publisher to write about things from people that I interviewed who worked with him, and I tell you, that was really eye-opening.
It's hard being the wife of a doctor, because he's always on call.
Well, it's hard being the wife of anyone who's a type A personality that's gonna, you know, change the world in one way or another. So yes, I mean, I think people will relate because of the things that I put in there. There's a lot of opportunity in this country that a lot of people can take care of, and I mean, take advantage of, and we're losing that. So that's another reason why the book is out there and why he's running, because, you know, this next generation is going to really have it rough if we don't do something.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
The next generation is going to have it rough. And then you can even say the current generation is going to have it rough if we don't turn this thing around.
Yeah, we're on a precipice. It's so sad that so many people just aren't aware. There's a lot of distractions today. You know, a lot of reality shows, all of these techno gizmo things that are out there, and we don't get civics courses in high school anymore. So a lot of people aren't aware of how important it is to vote, what a privilege it is and an honor, and it's a duty as well to know the person that you're putting into office to help run our country. And we've gotten to a point now where, and it's scary, but this is the thing that really hits hard on me, because it's just morally wrong, like Thomas Jefferson says, to steal from future generations. $18.5 trillion debt. $18.5 trillion. We can say that.
Yeah.
But
it's not going down, it's going up.
No, every day. It's like $500,000, no, yeah, $500,000 every day, something like that. But anyway, and check that, because it might be more. Anyway, $18.5 trillion, if you were to try to pay that off at a rate of $10 million a day, $10 million, not one, not two, not, you know, $10 million every day, 365 days a year, it would take you 5,000 years to pay that off. And that's not even taking into consideration the fiscal gap. Now, this fiscal gap is unfunded liabilities when you compare them against expected revenues. Now, these unfunded liabilities include Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, other government programs, and then tax revenues and other revenues that would be coming in. And if we were fiscally responsible, these things would be about even. But because we haven't been for a number of years and decades, it's up to over 200 trillion. Now, there are policies that can turn this around if we start soon. But if we don't, we are going down the tubes fast. The only reason we can sustain
you have hope that we can
okay,
actually turn it around? Because you look at history, and you go back to the Greek city-states.
Yeah.
As soon as the democracy, as soon as the people figured out they could vote themselves the treasury, they voted themselves the treasury, and they bankrupted the city. And the end result was always it turned into tyranny. You had to have a dictator come in order to set the finances right again. And everybody lost their liberty. And everybody lost their vote.
Yeah. And that's the tendency, and that's why I think after the Declaration of Independence, no, the Constitution was signed, someone asked, now, what do we have now? To Ben Franklin, and he says, it's a democrat, it's a republic, if we can keep it.
If we can keep it.
And we're not going to keep that if we're not vigilant. The Founding Fathers said that this system of government is based on a well-informed and well-educated populace. And right now we don't have that because so many people are unaware. And that's one of the reasons why we started, actually Ben felt a call in about 2011, even before the prayer breakfast, and he started accepting any and every speaking engagement that came along because he wanted to make sure people were aware of what was going on in our country. And then people started asking him to run for president. But it's just, when I look into the eyes of my grandchildren and other children, knowing these innocent faces, these sweet little kids, they didn't ask to be born. We didn't either. But here we've got a problem, and we're people who can solve the problem if we put our hearts into it, if we study. But they didn't ask for this, and it's not fair for us to put this on their backs.
What's it like? I know you're driven. I see it. I hear it. I know you're driven. But what's it like to really put yourself out there and, as a family, say we're going to run for office?
Hadn't really thought of it that way. I mean, believe it or not, we're fairly private people. But when you have a mission and a goal, and it's bigger than yourself, you have to follow God's lead. You know, Ben was saying, and he did have this prayer. He had this talk with God, and he said, "Lord, you know I don't want to do this. This wasn't on my bucket list, and if you want me to do this, you're gonna have to open the doors. And if you open the doors, I will walk through them. But if you close the doors, I'll gladly sit down." He's been opening doors. So we keep going because it's just, you consider that our nation is the most benign world power that's ever been. We're the child of every other nation. If our nation goes under, what's going to happen to the rest of the world? It's not just us even, you know? And
I fear for the world if America does go under.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a happy place.
We're the first ones there. When there's strife anywhere around the world, you know? We're the first ones there, usually. I mean, there's Benghazi.
Have you thought through, you know, polls are all over the place. They go up, they go down, they go sideways. What is the role, you know, let's say you win, great. Let's say you don't. Now what? Have you thought through to that point?
You know, wherever God leads us, that's what we're going to do. If we do get a break, we'll be able to do things that we've been wanting to do for years, or decades, because we've been married 40 years. So when this call came, you know, thinking, you know, I gave up my husband for medicine for 38 years. And, you know, he would get home as often as he could. But when he wasn't home, we knew he was saving lives. So, you know, it's fine. Now he's trying to save a nation, and it's daunting, you know. I mean, it's a lot of pressure, but then again, God gives you what you need. And if we do get a chance to take a break, we will take that break.
Well, I would encourage you, don't take a break. Because the platform that you will then have to encourage others to get involved. Not too many people are raising the warning bell. Guys, we're running out of money. And we're running out of time. And if everybody insists on their entitlement, there's not going to be anything for anybody. So if we don't have voices out there in the public square saying we've got to turn this around. Well, he would continue to speak. He said that he would still do the Speakers Bureau like he was doing before, and I'll probably still be doing music. But you know, wherever we go, like I do with our charity, I speak to children, school children, whenever we open up one of these reading rooms, which helps children to learn how to love learning. Because you probably know the statistic that 20 to 30% of children that start high school drop out, and 80% of them are functionally illiterate. So to curb that, we start putting in the Ben Carson reading rooms, which are decorated whimsically, draw the kids in, and they get points for reading, which they turn in for prizes, and at first they're doing for the prize, but after a while they learn to love learning. Well, I get to speak to these kids and tell them things that I've heard him say about the power of the brain and how fearfully and wonderfully made we are.
2 million bits of information every second is what your brain can process. 2 million. And you can't overload it. If you were to learn one fact every second, it would take you 3 million years to start to challenge this capacity.
Wow.
So you know we were created for eternity. Yeah. 3 million years, hello, you know? So is that telling you something? So I get to tell them that, and so, you know, the person that has the most to do with what happens to you is you. If there's something you don't understand, then you can go to the teacher after class, or you can go online or whatever, but you determine where you're going. If God put something in your heart to be, you can be that no matter what anybody else says. They told Ben, when after the first set of comprehensives in medical school, they told him he wasn't cut out to be a doctor.
Right.
Hello. So it just goes to show, you know, there are naysayers, but you don't have to listen to them because they're speaking from their experience, what they can't do. That doesn't mean you can't do it. And you can be the first one to do it. Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean that it can't be done with God's help.
That is a message for every child in America, every child in the world. I encourage you to get the book. It's A Doctor in the House, My Life with Ben Carson. It's available wherever books are sold. And Candy, again, it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much.
God bless you very much.
And thanks for letting me
No matter
go
what
on.
the journey leads you to, keep those messages going. Those need to get out.
And thank you for what you do as well. Keep those messages going.
I will.
Thank you.